Guys, welcome to the vlog.
Come on. There's a car. It's on fire. South 30th and West Galena. No driver in sight. Please hurry. Copy that. Stay clear of the vehicle. Units are on the way. A burned out car. A missing driver. No witnesses willing or able to say what happened. The call came in before sunrise. It looked like just another car fire in Milwaukee. But this car belonged to 19-year-old Sade Robinson. And she wasn't there. Who was Sade? A young woman with her whole life ahead. Just 19. Recently working 2 jobs. One at a restaurant, another at a local business, saving for school, dreaming of travel, and building a future she had only just begun. Friends say she loved family gatherings. Her mother says she wanted more out of life than the city gave her. She was quiet, but strong-willed, independent, but deeply connected to her circle. On the night of April 1st, 2024, she had a date. A first date. Just dinner. Maybe drinks. Nothing unusual. She told her friends where she'd be. She even texted during the night. Nothing in her messages suggested fear. Nothing hinted at danger. By the end of the night, she should have been home. Instead, her car was found burned. Welcome to Detective Daniel Files, where we dig deep into the cases that others leave behind. Before we begin today's investigation, I want to know you. Tell me your name, and tell me where you're watching from. Drop it down in the comments right now. And while you're here, hit that subscribe button. Become part of this family of truth seekers. So who are you, detective? And where are you tuning in from? This is where our story begins. How does a night out turn into a nightmare? How does a young woman vanish between last call and first light?
Heads of southbound Hampton on, 45 southbound Hampton on for Apollo, return for highway.
Any weapons on you, sir?
No. What's going on?
Somebody just radio it.
April 1st, 2024, a Monday night in Milwaukee. For 19-year-old Sade Robinson, it wasn't unusual to be out. She had plans. A first date. Dinner, maybe a drink. Something new, someone new. Her friends knew about it. She wasn't secretive. She wanted to enjoy herself, to get out, to breathe a little. The night began with messages. Normal, casual. But every message, every call, would later become evidence. The last breadcrumbs of a young woman's final hours. 7:15 p.m. Sade sends a message to a friend. Heading out now. Wish me luck. It's cheerful. Nothing alarming. 8 when some. She arrives at a downtown restaurant. Surveillance confirms her car parked in the lot. She meets her date, a man named Maxwell Anderson. Cameras catch them at the hostess stand, then seated at a table. The footage shows her smiling, animated, even laughing. She wasn't in distress. At least, not yet. 8:21 p.m. How's it going? First date vibes? Good so far. Food's great. He seems chill. Don't ghost me. Update later. Promise. We'll call after. These texts would be the last her friends would ever receive from her phone. 9:45 p.m. Surveillance captures Sade and Anderson leaving the restaurant. They head toward a nearby bar. Cameras show them entering. They stay for less than an hour. 10:32 p.m. They leave again, walk across the street, and disappear into the night. By 11 p.m., her friends are expecting a call. It never comes. Behind the scenes, detectives would later piece this timeline together, frame by frame, each detail pulling them closer to a truth too awful to accept. But in real time, Sade's friends were growing uneasy. At 11:14 p.m., "Hey, just checking in. You good?" Voicemail response, "This is Sade. Leave a message." At 11:36 p.m., her friend texted her, "Hey, where are you?" Text back. For a young woman who always answered her phone, the silence was unusual. For her friends, it was worrying. For detectives, it would later become critical. 11:50 p.m., surveillance captures her car leaving the downtown area. Anderson is believed to be driving. Sade is in the passenger seat. 12:14 a.m., a gas station camera records the vehicle pulling in. Anderson exits, purchases fuel. Sade does not appear on the footage. This moment raises questions. Was she still in the car, or had something already happened? By 12:30 a.m., her phone goes dark. No more pings, no more messages, just silence. By April 2nd, 1:05 a.m., at patrol, no activity at listed address. Subject vehicle last seen heading south. Log it. Follow up in the morning. The first missed opportunity, the first red flag, but no one knew it yet. By sunrise, friends wake up to unanswered texts. Her mother wakes up to an empty room. The hours tick by. And then, 5:52 a.m., a 911 call about a burning car. The same car Sade drove to her date. The same car seen leaving the gas station just hours earlier. By sunrise, Sade Robinson is nowhere to be found. In less than 12 hours, a normal night spiraled into a nightmare. The unanswered texts, the surveillance footage, the burned car. Every sign pointed to something darker than a simple disappearance. The question now, where was Sade? April 2nd, 2024, morning light breaks over Milwaukee. But for one family, the day begins with silence. 19-year-old Sade Robinson never came home. At 5:52 a.m., a call had already gone out. A car fire, South 30th and West Galena. Officers arrived to find a vehicle engulfed in flames, charred, unrecognizable at first. Within minutes, a burned shell of metal was tied to a missing teenager. But where was she? No driver, no body, only silence, smoke and questions. While officers logged the burned vehicle, Sade's family was already worried. She hadn't returned home. No calls, no texts. By sunrise, her mother began reaching out. The calls went unanswered. Friends hadn't heard from her either. Hours passed. Fear set in. My daughter didn't come home. Her name is Sade Robinson. She's 19. This isn't like her. When was she last seen? Asked the officer. Last night, her mom said. She told friends she was going out. That's it. We'll file a missing person report. An officer will contact you. A mother's voice. Frantic, searching. At the same time, police already had her daughter's car burned to its frame. 2 reports. Same name, same day. The puzzle was taking shape. Later that afternoon, the case turned darker. At a lakefront park, a passerby made a gruesome discovery. Lying near the water's edge, a human leg. I think it's a leg. A human leg. Near the rocks at Warnemont Park. Please send someone. Stay where you are. Officers are en route. Do not touch anything, said the officer. It was a young woman's left leg, severed cleanly, later confirmed by DNA to belong to Sade Robinson. Within 12 hours, Milwaukee police had 2 shocking pieces of evidence. A burned vehicle belonging to Sade Robinson. A severed leg discovered miles away, at the lakefront. At first, the 2 incidents seemed separate. A car fire, a gruesome find. But the VIN number, the DNA, and the timeline told investigators a single story. This was no accident. This was foul play. We've got a burned vehicle, and now partial remains. Same victim. Elevate this case. Treat as homicide. Notify crime scene. Pull surveillance from both sites. And get in touch with the family. They need to know. The tone had shifted. From a missing person to something far worse. Detectives rushed to cross-reference locations, interview witnesses, and track the last known movements of Sade. The simple timeline of a night out was now the opening chapter of a murder investigation. That evening, officers arrived at the Robinson home. They didn't have all the answers, but they had enough. Sade was not missing. At least, not in the way her family hoped. Her car was gone, her phone silent, and now, a part of her body had been found. It was the moment no parent ever wants to face. 2 discoveries. 1 burned car, 1 severed leg. Questions spiraled. Who set the fire? Who left remains at the lake? And where was the rest of Sade Robinson? By the close of April 2nd, what began as a search for a missing girl had already become a homicide investigation, and police were looking closely at one man, the last person seen with her alive. The hunt for answers had begun. April 3rd, 2024. Less than 24 hours since the discovery of Sade Robinson's burned car and her severed leg, the search widened. Officers canvassed city parks. Dive teams scanned rivers. Detectives drove through neighborhoods, knocking on doors, asking the same question. Did you see Sade? Did you see her car? Did you see anything unusual? What began as a missing person case had now become a manhunt for evidence. At 11:03 a.m., with that single update, the tone shifted citywide. The department was no longer searching for a runaway teen. They were hunting for a killer. Sade's family couldn't wait. They printed flyers, her photo smiling taped to light poles, pinned to store windows, stapled to community boards. Her mother called neighbors, churches, co-workers, aunts and cousins, organized vigils, candles lit, voices raised in prayer, the community begging for her safe return, even as fear grew that she might already be gone. Every flyer, every phone call, every vigil was a desperate act of hope against a tide of dread. Milwaukee was no stranger to missing cases. The city had seen too many young women vanish in recent years. Too many stories with tragic endings. For residents, Sade's disappearance brought back old fears. Was there a predator at large? Was this another case where justice would come too late? Police continue to search for 19-year-old Sade Robinson. Her car was discovered burned. Remains were found near Lake Michigan. Authorities ask anyone with information to come forward. The coverage spread quickly. Every headline, Every social media post, every whispered conversation in grocery lines. The name Sade Robinson was now a question on everyone's lips. Still no positive sightings. No confirmed leads from Canvas. Double-check Anderson. Pull his cell records. I want pings mapped hour by hour. The trail was cold. Witnesses offered fragments. A car driving too fast. A scream they weren't sure they heard. A shadow near the shoreline. Nothing solid. Nothing that would bring Sade home. That night, dozens gathered at the park. They held candles. Photos of Sade taped to poster boards. Some cried. Others prayed. All begged for answers. Her mother stood in front of cameras, her voice breaking. My daughter is missing. Please, if you know anything, come forward. Don't let her be another name, another case. It was both a plea and a warning. The search stretched late into the night. Officers scanned rivers with flashlights. Volunteers combed wooded trails. The family lit candles in the darkness. But by midnight, Sade Robinson was still missing. And detectives knew their suspect list was narrowing. Someone out there had answers. And soon one man's name would rise to the top. By sunrise, the focus would shift. From searching for Sade to questioning the man last seen with her. In every missing person case, investigators ask the same question. Who was the last to see them alive? For Sade Robinson, that answer was clear. A man she had just met. A man named Maxwell Steven Anderson. Anderson was 33 years old, an IT worker by trade. No close ties to Sade. She had met him recently, through mutual connections. To friends it seemed harmless. Just a first date. Dinner. A night out. Nothing unusual. But detectives quickly learned Anderson was the last person confirmed with Sade before she disappeared. Detectives reviewed surveillance. Frame by frame. 8:03 p.m. Sade and Anderson at a downtown restaurant. 9:45 p.m. The pair leaves, heads toward a bar. 10:32 p.m. They exit again, cross the street. Both appear calm. From there the cameras lose them. 11:50 p.m. Sade's car leaves the downtown lot. Investigators believe Anderson was behind the wheel. Cell towers show Anderson's phone moving south. Around 11:50 p.m. matches the vehicle's route. And Sade's phone. The data told a simple story. Wherever Anderson went, Sade went too, until her phone went dark. 12:14 a.m. A gas station security camera captured Anderson exiting Sade's car. He swiped a card. Bought fuel. Calm. Alone. Alone. Investigators noted what wasn't there. Sade. She never appeared on that footage. It was the last known sighting connected to her car, before it was discovered burned at dawn. Detectives cross-checked Anderson's movements against his digital footprint. Credit card records showed the dinner. Surveillance placed him at the bar. Cell phone pings mapped his late-night drive south. And the gas station camera sealed the timeline. Every step lined up. Every trail led back to him. According to Inspector Anderson says he dropped her off, but the footage doesn't support it. His story cracked under scrutiny. He claimed he left her safe, yet surveillance, phone records and evidence from the burned car suggested otherwise. Why him? In cases like this, suspicion isn't enough. Police needed evidence. But one fact was undeniable. Maxwell Anderson was the last person seen with Sade Robinson alive. Her phone went dark in his orbit. Her car burned after his stop. And within hours her remains began turning up across the city. The questions were mounting. Why was he driving her car? Why did her phone die when his didn't? And why was he so calm buying fuel, as if nothing had happened? Milwaukee detectives knew. To find Sade they had to follow Anderson. Every move, every lie, every mile. The trail pointed to him. The timeline placed him at every critical moment. And now police were closing in. The next chapter in this story would see Anderson face the questions he couldn't escape. Inside an interrogation room. The suspect had a name, and soon he would have no place left to hide. April 4th, 2024. 2 days after Sade Robinson vanished, the investigation took a decisive turn. Detectives had pieced together a trail of surveillance, phone records, and physical evidence. Every path pointed back to one man, Maxwell Anderson. That morning, a call went out that would change the course of the case. By mid-morning, officers were at Anderson's door. He was calm, almost too calm, as they placed him in custody. But his calm would not last. In the interrogation room, detectives began with simple questions. Where had he gone with Sade? What time did he last see her? At first, Anderson's answers were rehearsed, steady. He claimed he dropped her off near her car. He claimed she was fine. But the story cracked under pressure. You said you dropped her at her car, but her car was found burned. How do you explain that? I don't know, maybe someone else. I left before it happened. You expect us to believe that? Conflicting stories, shifting timelines. His words collided with the evidence detectives already had. The case against Anderson was building, piece by piece. Surveillance footage placed him with Sade at multiple locations. Gas station cameras showed him alone at her car. Cell phone pings traced his movements south, aligned with hers, until her phone went dark. And at his residence, detectives discovered a gas can, its residue matching the accelerant used on Sade's burned car. Every detail stacked higher. Every inconsistency widened the cracks in his story. Your story doesn't match surveillance. You were at the gas station, alone. The detective asked. Then why does her phone die where your phone goes? Why is her car burned? Why is her leg at the lake? Anderson had no answers. His silence became its own confession. By the end of the day, Anderson was formally charged. First-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a body, arson of property. The charges told a story Anderson refused to tell. Detectives walked out of that room with one conclusion. The man in custody knew exactly what happened to Sade Robinson. The net was closing in. The burned car, the severed remains, the gas can, the surveillance, the digital trail. Every sign pointed in one direction. Every lead circled back to the same man. And now, he was behind bars. But for Sade's family, the arrest was only the beginning. Because charges are not closure, and justice still had a long way to go. April 5, 2024, less than 24 hours after his arrest, Maxwell Steven Anderson faced the weight of the law. Prosecutors filed the charges, each one more chilling than the last. The language in the court documents was clinical, stripped of emotion. But behind every word was a story of violence, deception, and loss. In the death of 19-year-old Sade Robinson, Count 2, mutilating a corpse, in reference to the dismemberment and disposal of human remains. Count 3, arson of property, for intentionally setting fire to a vehicle, later confirmed to belong to the victim. Count 4, hiding a corpse, for concealing and dispersing remains to avoid detection and hinder investigation. These were not abstract words. Each count carried the weight of a life cut short, and a family left broken. April 5, 10:42 a.m. Detective called Mrs. Robinson. This is Detective Harris. I wanted to let you know, we have a suspect in custody. The mother answered with a shaken, holding back tears. Is it true? He's the one who hurt my daughter. He's been charged. 4 counts. This isn't the end, but it's a step forward. Thank you. Please, don't stop until we have the whole truth, the mother said. For the Robinson family, the news was bittersweet. Relief that someone had been caught. Pain that the charges confirmed their worst fears. Their daughter wasn't just missing, she had been murdered. The first hearing was tense. Anderson stood in silence, head lowered. The prosecution outlined the evidence. The burned car, the severed remains, the gas can, the surveillance trail. Anderson's attorney entered a not guilty plea, but the courtroom air was heavy. Everyone knew the case was only beginning. Reporters filled the benches, scribbling notes. Every headline in Milwaukee carried the same words. Suspect charged in death of Sade Robinson. Outside, her family stood together, clutching photos of Sade, their voices cracking as they spoke to the press. They didn't speak of the charges. They spoke of Sade herself, of the life she should still be living. As prosecutors laid out their case, one question lingered. Why? Why would a first date end in fire, dismemberment, and death? What could drive someone to take a young woman's life and scatter her remains? The documents listed facts. The detectives compiled evidence. But the human answer, the reason, remained elusive. Anderson offered no explanation, no confession, only denials, contradictions, and silence. Anderson would face trial for homicide, mutilation, arson, and concealment. But for Sade's family, charges were not closure. They were only the start of a long, grueling path through the justice system. And for Milwaukee, the fear deepened. Because if Anderson could do this once, what else was he capable of? The case was moving into court, but the fight for justice was just beginning. 14 months after the night Sade Robinson disappeared, the case reached the courtroom. The charges were already known: homicide, mutilation, arson, hiding a body. But now, the evidence would be tested. Witnesses sworn, experts called, family members forced to relive the darkest hours of their lives. Prosecutors began with the timeline. They reconstructed April 1st and 2nd, step by step, using surveillance, call records, and digital pings. Jurors watched the restaurant footage. They saw Sade smiling, laughing, sitting across from Anderson. They saw them leave together. They watched the gas station clip, Anderson exiting her car, alone, calm, cold, Sade absent. Each image, each timestamp, drove home the same point. He was the last person to see her alive. Next came the scientists. Forensic experts explained the burn patterns on Sade's car. The accelerant matched residue on a gas can seized from Anderson's home. DNA specialists testified that the leg found at Warnemont Park was Sade's. Phone analysts showed the jurors a digital map. 2 dots moving together, Anderson's phone and Sade's, until hers went dark. His kept moving, south, toward the shoreline. Each piece of evidence told a chilling story. Then came the hardest voices to hear: Sade's mother, her friends. They described a young woman full of life, working 2 jobs, saving for college, dreaming of the future. Her mother told the jury, "She texted me every night." That night, nothing came. Tears filled the courtroom. Even jurors shifted in their seats, shaken by the weight of her words. The defense tried to sow doubt. They claimed Anderson left Sade alive, that someone else could have harmed her after he walked away. But the evidence, the surveillance, the gas station footage, the DNA, cut through those arguments. The facts were stubborn, the trail unbroken. Every behind-the-scenes call, every briefing, sharpened the blade of the prosecution's case. As the trial stretched on, the picture became clearer. Anderson's lies, his contradictions, his silence, all weighed against him. The jury had heard the experts. They had seen the footage. They had felt the family's pain. And soon they would deliver their answer. The evidence was damning. The testimonies devastating. The final question remained: would the jury find him guilty of every charge? June 20. After weeks of testimony, after long nights of deliberation, 12 jurors carried the weight of Sade Robinson's story on their shoulders. The evidence was clear, the timeline unbroken, the family's grief undeniable. On a summer afternoon, the jury filed back into the courtroom. The foreperson stood. The judge asked the question: how do you find the defendant? The answer: guilty. On all counts: homicide, mutilation, arson, concealment. Maxwell Steven Anderson was convicted of the brutal killing of Sade Robinson. In that moment, a family's cries filled the room. Relief and pain collided. Justice, at last, had spoken. But it was not the kind of justice that brings anyone home. The final chapter in the courtroom. Anderson, dressed in prison orange, stood before the judge. The sentence was swift: life in prison without the possibility of parole. No future, no freedom, no chance to walk away from what he had done. Sade's mother stepped forward. Her voice cracked, but her words were steady. "You took my baby from me. She was only 19. She had dreams, a future, a life you destroyed. We will never forgive you, and we will never stop missing her." Other family members spoke through tears. Friends described the hole left in their lives. Community leaders called for change, for safety, for an end to the violence claiming young women in their city. Every voice echoed the same truth: Sade was gone, and no sentence could ever bring her back. Outside the courthouse, reporters captured the community's reaction. Some felt relief, others felt anger that parts of Sade's remains were never recovered, that the full truth of her final hours may never be known. But one fact was certain: Milwaukee would never forget her name. Sade Robinson was more than a headline, more than a case. She was a daughter, a friend, a young woman whose life was stolen too soon. The jury had spoken. The judge had ruled. Maxwell Anderson would spend the rest of his life behind bars. Justice was delivered, but closure remained elusive, because no verdict, no sentence, no prison cell could bring Sade Robinson home. The story was not just about a trial, it was about a life, and the question that still lingers: why? 2 hours, 2 days, 2 years. For the Robinson family, time has moved differently since April 2024. A man has been convicted, a life sentence handed down. Justice, in the legal sense, has been served. But justice does not feel like closure. Parts of Sade's remains have never been found. Her family still waits for answers about what happened in those final hours. The silence of the gaps is as painful as the facts that have already been revealed. How can a mother rest when her daughter's story is still incomplete? August 25. Reporter asked Mrs. Robinson, "Do you feel justice has been done?" She answered with a voice tired, heavy, pomped, and reused she. "We're grateful he's behind bars, but justice is not the same as closure. We still want answers. We want the truth. We want the rest of her back." In that single sentence, "we still want answers," was the essence of this story. A conviction may end a trial. It does not end the grief. It does not end the questions. Milwaukee continues to say her name. Vigils still burn with her picture at the center. For every candle lit, there is a reminder. This case was not just about evidence and verdicts. It was about a young woman, 19 years old, with a future taken before it began. Sade Robinson's story ends here, for now. But it will never truly be over, because until every missing piece is found, this story will never truly end.